Welcome to Nugget 158 with Steve Groman, and today we will be going to one of the beautiful national parks in the Southwest, and that is the Petrified Forest National Park. And it includes the Painted Desert and a lot of sea creatures and mammal fossil graveyards and tons and tons of petrified wood. And we've actually been to this park 2 times. We just went again last summer. It's an incredible place, right?
It is a beautiful place. A lot of interesting fossilized trees. Anyway, let's get into it. Out of this booklet, says the most noticeable evidence of this strikingly different past glitters all over the ground. It is petrified wood, trees turned to stone.
And let's read a little bit of this and dissect it like we usually do. Visitors to Petrified Forest today must possess a healthy dose of imagination to envision the environment that predated this high, dry, silent land. No, that's only if you buy what they're telling you.
I'm kind of thinking that way, too.
We don't have to have a healthy dose of imagination. We just have to have a
Trust
healthy
what God
dose
said about the original creation.
Just seeing the evidence and being just in awe of it. The mental journey must go back 225 million years or so to the Triassic period, when what is now northern Arizona was near the equator.
Now, there's a problem. The main reason that people say these kinds of things is because when they find evidence, like is found here, in locations that it's not supposed to be, they have to have that land elsewhere.
They have to rearrange it.
Where that same type of stuff still is now. And what they're failing to realize is when you throw the Bible out, you throw out the truth. And the Bible says in original creation, we covered this before, that it never rained in the original creation. It was a perfectly stable environment. So this stuff could grow wherever it wanted to. And
now they're actually going to be describing the pre-flood world, but they don't realize that's what they're doing.
Exactly.
Tall tropical trees held sway in the highlands, with an undergrowth of broad ferns, lush cycads, and huge horsetails. Huge horsetails. An astonishing assortment of animals inhabited the land and water of this green world, including some of the earliest plant and meat-eating dinosaurs. Well, we didn't have meat-eating dinosaurs before the flood. We've talked about that on numerous occasions. Giant amphibians, flying lizards, fish, clams, snails, and experiments in the up-and-coming group known as mammals. Aww.
Well, I see about that imagination you have to have there, right? Anyway, it goes on. The most noticeable evidence of this strikingly different past glitters all over the ground. It is petrified wood, trees turned to stone. The reason this park was set aside. The Triassic-aged trees toppled and were carried down the flooding streams, collecting over the years in what must have been monstrous log jams. Sediments and volcanic ash, blown and washed in, buried the fresh trees and prevented their rapid decay. The accumulation of the mud, silt, sand, and ash created what is known as the Chinle Formation. Let's just stop and think about this a minute. What they're describing, like you mentioned, it is the pre-flood world being overcome with the flood.
In a beautiful scenario.
But we have the mechanism written thousands of years ago.
I keep repeating in these nuggets, the reason we're going through this is you have to be able to read this information and realize that a lot of the explanation is accurate. It's the time frame. We don't go on a mental journey 225 million years ago. We go back 4,000 years approximately to Noah's flood.
Like we've talked about before, too. The evidence is there. The trees are there. The evidence of all the different fossils are there. But it's simply before the flood stuff and what happened during the flood. So anyway, keep going.
Over time, silica-laden waters replaced the cellulose in the wood of the trees, crystallizing into quartz, jasper, and chalcedony. Thus, the wood was petrified into gem-like hues of red, oranges, purples, and blacks, now gorgeously revealed in the cross-sections of the trees. And they are beautiful. We have hiked every single one of the trails. We just recommend that you do that. There's just nothing like it.
Absolutely. And the beautiful states of preservation of all of these fossilized trees and petrified trees and such are absolute indicative and absolute testimony of the rapid nature of fossilization that needs to take place, or the trees would rot away. They're not going to stay for millions of years and for 225 million years for something to slowly petrify, slowly turn to stone. It would rot away.
The trees at this park, we actually cover that in our Lesson 10 of A Creation Seminar in Part 1 of Living Proof when we talk about that. And here is part of the park brochure, what they said.
It says, this piece of America's heritage was set aside in 1906 to protect and make available for public enjoyment one of the largest petrified wood deposits in the world. If you imagine that the ground you're standing on is in a steamy, swampy, equatorial climate 225 million years ago, you will have no problem placing the oversized Triassic trees and dinosaurs that inhabit this area into your mind's eye. That is the primary story we have to tell, but there are several others too. But that's a fascinating paragraph right there. Because, again, it's talking about the pre-flood world. It's talking about the tropic environment everywhere.
And these trees are huge.
Yes, they are huge, and they're so well preserved.
And they've got dinosaurs, and they've got these huge trees, so that's why they're labeling it Triassic.
Correct. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't call it that. But it goes back to that slice of time that we cover also in our lessons. It goes on, the park staff reports that these trees are similar to the bald cypress found in swamps of southeastern United States. There are places we've been and seen tons of them, the bald cypress in the swamps. But again, it verifies that type of a condition. It was found all over the earth because the Bible says so.
Along the Long Logs Trail at the south end of the park, tree trunks 100 feet or more in length have been preserved. And what's interesting is between the two different times that we've been there, they have closed off the road, and we had to hike almost a mile just to get where we had originally parked.
We used to park.
Yeah, so it was like, I don't remember this being like this. And then we got to the overgrown parking lot, and I thought, now I know why this didn't seem familiar. In other places, the trees broke cleanly into rounds that look as if they were cut by a saw. The petrified wood clogs drainages where the soft badland clays have eroded out around them, or it perches on pedestals of clay as if it were placed by a careful hand.
Well, one thing about these trees, where they are broken up, they do look like they've been cut with a saw. It verifies they turned to stone in an upright position, because then when they fell, they broke, and oftentimes they conform into the land. We have some pictures of that, into the land that they actually fell into.
These fossils and many less obvious ones have lured professionals and amateur paleontologists to petrified forests for years, and have allowed scientists to fill in more details of the past environments and evolution. Really? Do they have to say this? They don't have to say this. They don't need to fill in evolution. They need to just ignore evolution and just say this wonderful place is here as
Here's what we
have.
As
a testament to Noah's flood and God's work on this earth.
It's a shame as a society we've gotten so far away from that, so far away from the truth.
An exciting find occurred in the park in 1984. Bones of one of the earliest dinosaurs known, a creature fondly called Gertie. The remains of a whole menagerie of crawling, swimming, and flying animals have been unearthed in petrified forest, along with delicate fossils of early plants. Paleontologists still comb the melting hills for more clues to this Triassic world.
And often these delicate fossils of early plants, they include leaves and stems and the veins within the leaves and incredible detail. I've said it so many times, a bone will last a while, a claw will last a while, a tooth will last a while, but very, very delicate structures of plants and animals, that stuff rots away very quickly. It verifies it was a rapid thing that took place.
One of the last signs that we'll show in this nugget, because we're going to continue this on to our next nugget when we talk about the summer solstice rock that we found. But here's water under the bridge, and it talks about how this log became a bridge, and it was just crazy what they said about it. So read what they say about this 110-foot long agate bridge for us.
Yes, it says, water created agate bridge and will destroy it. The fossilized tree that now forms agate bridge grew in a lush subtropical forest 217 million years ago.
No, wait a minute. Where's the 8 million?
I don't know.
225 to 217.
What's a million here, a million there, 10 million here, 10 million there?
Yeah. So this is a young tree.
Yeah. Okay. When this tree died, it was washed into the river, and its quick burial by river sediments prevented decay. Volcanic ash dissolved in the groundwater provided silica, which reacted with the log and slowly crystallized it into quartz. Millions of years later, rivers and streams eroded massive layers of rock strata to expose this fossilized tree. Inevitably, water now carving the small gully under Agate Bridge will cause its collapse. The supportive concrete span constructed in 1917 is a tenuous attempt at preservation. Water will always have its way.
Imagine that.
How about that?
Noah's flood definitely had its way. And they're talking about how it had to be buried quickly to prevent decay. And I know you always talk about that, especially when you have school group meetings and you talk to children and talk to them about fossils and help them to understand that they have to be formed rapidly, otherwise they would be decayed. And here, again, are some beautiful pictures of the logs at Petrified Forest. And I think we'll stop here and we'll pick up in a part 2 of the Petrified Forest. Thank you.